What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. Making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. Making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. Making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today.
There we go. Howdy how, folks. How's everyone's day going? Oh, let's turn that off because it ends up looking real weird if I have this crazy halo above me because there's a ceiling fan right here. So, hey, AJ, McFace Stab, On the Soldiers of Giants, Avocado Green KitchenAid, Well, that's interesting. The other monitor seems to have... Hey, you're kidding me. Welcome, welcome. Night Songs. Good to see you here. And Squire Creamsicle is joining us today. Yeah, welcome, welcome. That is... Hang on. Let's close that. There we go. My monitor that's right here, for whatever reason, has decided that it is freezing up on me, and it wasn't refreshing the chat or anything like that. So I apologize if I can't make out chat very much, because now suddenly I've got a very small chat window that I can look at. AJ's busy at work and needs to go out for lunch sometime before I watch too much. Yeah, exactly. To be, you know, what's funny is I've been thinking about putting together a disclaimer that needs to play before the streams, that you either need to have eaten or you need to bring a snack with you beforehand. Hey, Lumpy Pickle, welcome, welcome. Okay, everything just went black real quick. Hopefully everything is still good. Okay, it looks like the TV's restarting. I wonder if it just doesn't... That's weird. Gotta love it when you've got, you know, seriously crazy tech issues, but let's try doing that. And hopefully everything is good with that. So, yeah, Soldier of Giants, go grab some food, do what you gotta do. You're kidding me. I'm glad that you showed up today, because I got some news for you. Saturday, I'm gonna do that gluten-free katsu curry that you had asked about. What was that, last week, I think? I have been messing around with a few things, and I believe I have come up with some good solutions. One for the gluten-free panko coating, as well as the thickening agent for the Japanese style curry. So yeah, I'm pretty happy so far. Oh, that's interesting. That TV does not want to stay on for some reason, and I do not know why. So I keep trying to turn it on, and it's just like, no. Anyways. It's weird, it's because it looks like the laptop keeps, like, deciding that it wants to recognize it as a secondary monitor, but for whatever reason, it's just not. So I am running slightly blindly, so I apologize if like I said, if I miss any comments or anything like that, because the TV has decided that it doesn't want to work for me for some reason, which is really kind of strange. But I'm wondering if maybe... we do that, perhaps, who knows. Okay. Maybe? Who knows? So today, being Tuesday here still, for AJ it's already tomorrow. Yeah, so tacos. Because tacos. And we love tacos. I love tacos. Tacos are a wonderful thing. So, basically reseed all the connections and things like that. Yeah, I don't know. It's, well, currently it looks like it's more of a power issue than anything else, Lumpy. For whatever reason, the TV is just not wanting to stay on for some reason, which is really odd, but oh well. Mess with it later. Hey, Renfield, welcome. Yeah. You know who doesn't like tacos? Al-Qaeda. Although, to be honest, I bet you Al-Qaeda probably does enjoy a good taco every now and again. At any rate, so for tacos today, I wanted to do a couple of things. And initially I was thinking carne asada is always a great thing. And I'm a big fan of it, but I was realizing that I've got some leftover picanha from last week, and that turned into a carne asada for tacos would be fantastic. So, hey, that's great. I'll go ahead and use that, and that's super easy, and I don't have to worry about it. But then I also got to thinking that for those that choose to abstain from the consumption of meat for whatever reason, an alternative for them would be to make, using the same marinade that doesn't have any animal products and could very easily be turned gluten-free, we could make a mushroom asada. Why not? It'll be good. And so we'll make that too because it's super easy. With the tacos, we'll have to have a little Pico De Gallo, so we'll make that. And in looking through a couple of my cookbooks for like tacos and salsas and things like that, there was one that kind of popped up. And since we happen to have some avocados that are ripe, like within this millisecond, I found, instead of like just a straight up guacamole, a recipe for a Tomatillo avocado salsa that I thought, hey, that sounded really good. And it doesn't require blanching or anything else. It just goes straight into the food processor and you eat it as a fresh salsa, which I was like, I'm all over that. Yeah, mushroom asada does sound really good. And the great thing about it is you can use effectively, well, really whatever mushroom you kind of like. I'm using buttons because they were available. They're also really dense, which is good because you kind of want that meaty texture. So things like creminis, button mushrooms, king oysters would be really good for that too. But honestly, it's whatever you like. If you wanted to do like a mushroom medley, have at it. Who am I to stop you from using, whatever mushrooms you happen to have on hand? If you're lucky enough that you can go foraging for mushrooms and find some good ones there, have at it, please. To be honest, like, I would love to make a morel like taco, which I think would be absolutely phenomenal. But I know a couple of morels that have been found in the area, but this really isn't an area that's super known for foraging and morels. So at any rate, you do what you can with what you got. So we'll make that, and then for sides, we'll make a Spanish rice, which is what I'm gonna want to start off with, since that's probably gonna take kind of the longest, because everything else goes pretty easily. And we'll also make really easy refried beans, because you kind of have to have them with it. So besides the tacos and kind of these sides and everything else, I thought, because when I was told that Unleash the Archers had decided to take me up on my offer to feed them, and I started thinking about the menus and everything else, one of the things that I initially thought to make was like carne asada bowls. And so it's a really easy transition, and there's only like one other thing that we really need to do for it. And so yeah, beans, the magical fruit, buddy. No, make really hard refried beans. Well, so funny you should say that, Lumpy. So this is the easy version. We could do the full, like, from scratch version, but I'm not willing to do that right now because I'm just not in the mood. Saturday is gonna be a long enough kind of process, because we're gonna make Japanese curry from scratch. And when I say from scratch, I mean we're making curry powder that we're gonna turn into the roux, and we're gonna make all the different things that are gonna go into it, and then we'll bring it all together. So it's gonna be kind of a lengthy process, but thankfully there's any number of steps along the way. It's like, okay, well, if you don't want to like make this, this is what you can buy. So it'll be one of those things that I'll probably like have a disclaimer that says, yeah, do not make this recipe at home, just because it's going to be complicated and it's going to take a long time. But if you're feeling adventurous and if you just you want to take on the challenge of making something like that from scratch, well, I'm gonna show you how to do it, because I'm just the crazy enough person to actually do that kind of thing. So yeah, that is effectively what we got going on today. And I've kind of taken the liberty for a lot of things to kind of do a bit of prep work in terms of like washing and everything else. I'm not standing at the sink washing mushrooms, or I'm not, standing around just kind of doing a whole bunch of other stuff. Like I've washed cilantro and things like that. And so for the most part, things will go relatively quickly. The tortillas will end up wrapping up in foil and then popping them in the oven for about 15 or 20 minutes right before we're ready to put the tacos together. And that oven is just set at 250 Fahrenheit. And then, yeah, you leave them in there for about 15 minutes or so, and it should warm the tortillas through. And if not, leave them in for a little bit longer, just so then that way they're nice and pliable and everything, and they don't fall apart when we go to assemble those tacos. So, menu is up. So if you hit the that command in chat, it should throw up the menu for the day. And then also, oh, Chris Carnage, I didn't see you come in. I apologize. But yeah, if you hit !recipe, it'll point you to the 2 Discord posts where recipes for everything is up, or mostly everything is up there. So that is good to go. In the meantime, hang on. Okay, good. I'm like, what is happening? Okay. Feed me. Well, AJ, you get yourself on a plane and you come on over. We've already got a bed set up for you, buddy. So, all right, let's change. Let's go to this one for the time being. Okay, so I've got my burner and I've got my aluminum cauldron or calderon that I'm going to use for the rice. And since the rice, once this gets going, I'm going to end up putting it on the stove to just simmer for however long it needs to go for, 25, 30 minutes or something like that. And so that being the case, hey Scott, welcome. I'm just gonna get it started here and then we'll move on to everything else. In terms of prep for the rice, we don't need a heck of a lot. So on the recipe post, it's believe I have down quarter cup of olive oil, half of a white onion, which I have here diced up, which we will get to, a couple of cloves of garlic, some salt, basmati rice, then you can either use like a can. Here I can get something al pato brand, which just translates to the duck. It's a tomato salsa, or salsa de tomate con jalapeno. I'm going to use one of this. However, if you have a can of diced tomatoes, you're going to want about a cup with the hey, Master Kingsley, welcome. We're making tacos. But yeah, if you got a cup of those diced tomatoes with the juices, go ahead and use that. That will also work just fine. Or if you feel like, if you happen to have like some fresh cherry tomatoes or something like that, feel free to dice up about a cup of that in order to throw them in. So you've got a few options on that. Then we're going to throw in, if you'd like it a little bit on the spicy side, feel free to throw in like a dried chili de arbol. I'm probably going to throw in a chili de japón just because I have it. And then the last thing would be a bay leaf. So I'm going to get started on that. The other half of this white onion is actually going to end up going into the Carne Asada marinade / sauce. So I'm going to need the whole thing anyways. And all I'm doing is just taking off the root and then the top. Thankfully for the sauce, it's just instead of using multiple appliances today, I've decided that I'm just gonna do everything with the food processor and just rinse it out in between. Less dishes for me to do, so that will hang on to. But this, this I'm just gonna dice up and then have at the ready. And there must be somebody like walking down the street. Little girl was barking. Okay. Half an onion, done. A couple of cloves of garlic, which it is almost time for me to go get more, just because this represents the last of my 5-pound bag of garlic. And I'm going to be making a relatively significant amount of garlic confit on Saturday, because we're going to use the butter from the confit to make the roux. Why? Because I'm crazy like that. So I'm just smashing these and then cutting them up. Okay. There we go. I'm not too worried about precision with this kind of thing. To be honest, most things that I make, I'm not terribly worried about the precision of the cutting. It's only like if there's something that I definitely need, like a good presentation piece or something like that, then I'll be really concerned about like the size of the dice and making sure that everything is, hail hydrate, looking real good. What's so freaking annoying? Uber Eats messed up your order? Oof. Sorry to hear that, man. You know what? I love Gilroy Lumpy Pickle. Funny thing, a few years ago when my aunt died, she was buried in, whatchamacallit, Pacific Grove. Yeah. Pacific Grove, Monterey area. And afterwards we were supposed to stay in San Francisco, and we had like set up a hotel based off of pictures and reviews and everything, and we were going to stay the night there. We get to the place and it is an absolute hole, and so we're like, yeah, I feel like I'm going to get murdered in this place. Like, there was a prostitute that had set up shop there, and it was just a bad situation. I couldn't stand up in the shower because the ceiling was so low. Yeah, it was just bad. At any rate, we decided to escape San Francisco and ended up staying in Gilroy and had these absolutely amazing tacos at this stand there. And then we had a really good breakfast the next day. And I'm not a big breakfast person, but like it was excellent. Gilroy's amazing. I love that place. Okay. Oh, I'm probably gonna need that little strainer later, but oh well. Okay. Meanwhile, I'm running around in my slippies. Let's see. Onion, garlic, salt, basmati, tomato, chili. Okay, cool. We're about ready to go. Bay leaf and a little All right. So, I put in the recipes on the Discord, as well as, well, yeah, basically, so I'm using olive oil, but I'm not using extra virgin olive oil. I do not want to use extra virgin olive oil. Just straight olive oil is all you really want for this. Because extra virgin, being the first pressing, even though it's got a lot more character and kind of flavor compounds going on, it's also a lot more bitter. And yeah, I don't need that for this. All right. So the onion and garlic are going in. We're just gonna cook this for a few minutes until everything softens up. I love these handles. These things are great. Oh, good. This is coming together really nicely. All right. In the meantime, I'm gonna open up that little can. And let's get the water. Okay. Amazon. I don't know, what's that Amazon link, Lumpy? But Gilroy's amazing. Like, I love it, honestly. I would love to go for the Garlic Festival, but it's got a small town feel to it, but like, food's good. It's just cool. I like it. Yeah, the couple of times that I've been to San Francisco within the last, I don't know, 5+ years or whatever, like, I've just been miserable. Like, I know there are those that are just like, oh my gosh, San Francisco is an absolutely, like, magical place. I'm just not one of those people. You know, no offense to those that love it, it's just not my thing. Okay. I measured out the rice ahead of time. That is funny. Oh, that's because I left it over here. Alright, so I'm going to toss in my rice now. That's 2 cups of basmati, by the way. And this I want to get going until the basmati is slightly toasted. And you can smell it. Like, the basmati is a super fragrant rice if you've never made it before or had it. Okay, good. I'm just checking to make sure that we still had plenty of fuel. I got my extra can here. But, just want to get this going for a few minutes so then until it gets nice and fragrant. Okay. Yeah, maybe it was. I don't know. And that's, you know, that's what I've heard is that, you know, people just absolutely adored San Francisco. And You know, we really wanted to love it. We wanted to go there for the Chinatown, because it's got I want to say it's the largest Chinatown, at least in the United States. And like, we wanted to go there and experience it and really enjoy it, but just the whole experience of being there was just, it honestly felt like the city was like telling us to get out. That's the way that it felt. It kind of sounds strange, but just believe me, when it, like, everything was just pointing to get out. And we're like, okay. Don't have to tell me twice. Okay. Well, I am getting some definite basmati aromas here. So I think that means we are ready to throw in everything else. So we'll throw the water in. Last but not least, well, not quite, but a chili japon and a bay leaf. And then as soon as that comes to a boil, I'm going to take it over to the stove and let it do its thing. In fact, let me... I just turned on a super low flame, so then that way this can gently do its thing. Alright. That's looking pretty good. I want to go to England at some point. Probably will, but not London. Really, you got that vibe from London on the Soldiers of Giants. I guess, you know, I can kind of see that, London being such a major city. I'm actually going to crank this up just so it comes to a hard boil really quick, and then I'll turn it back down again. Like, I definitely would love to go to England at some point. Just because there's so much history there, and like a lot of, you know, excellent cheese and other things that I would love to see and do. Alright. So now we're going to leave that alone. We're not going to touch it. So then that way the rice has a chance to properly steam. No touchy. Alright. Let's get this out of here for the time being. Okay. Next. Back. Now we've got all the other good stuff. Okay. First up, let's go ahead and make that Carne Asada sauce / marinade. And then we'll take it from there. So I just got my food processor here, and let's get that more into view so that people can actually see what's going on here. The ingredient list on this may seem a little daunting, but honestly it's really not that bad. Especially since really the bulk of the recipe is just throw everything into the food processor or blender and turn it on until it's, you know, until it's about as smooth as it can get. So it's literally just prepping the ingredients and throwing it in. So here's half of that other half of the white onion going in. Let's see. Let's do jalapenos. So, if you can't do spice, you can omit the jalapenos as well as the chipotle that is on there. It won't super negatively affect the sauce. Here, however, the jalapenos tend to be pretty weak in terms of their relative heat. And when I say pretty weak, maybe a step above bell peppers kind of thing. For the most part, they really do not have any heat to them. So you get kind of jalapeno flavor without the bite. So, because I know lumpy pickle doesn't do too well with the spicy stuff. However, if you do like it extra spicy, you certainly can crank it up if you want it. Okay. So I just need to rough chop on these since the food processor is going to do the bulk of the work. And all I did was take out the ribs and the veins. Just because seeds are indigestible. And the veins tend to have a just kind of an off flavor that I'm not a big fan of, so I take them out. I like Wales. People we met wanted us not there, but the land and towns were lovely. Oh, okay. All right, so we got the jalapenos in. 6 cloves of garlic. Trim the ends really quick. And throw them in. Well, we'll smash them and then throw them in. But no real need to chop them up. And then we'll do the chipotle last. Just because that's going to be a bit of a mess. Okay. Half a cup of cilantro, rough chopped. I am just gonna guesstimate on that, to be honest. I know there are those that aren't terribly fond of cilantro, and so you're just like cringing, but I am not one of those people. Even though cilantro, sometimes I do get that kind of soapiness, but it doesn't bother me enough to deter me from eating it, I should say. Alright, cilantro. Let's see. OJ, olive oil, soy sauce, cumin, paprika. Alright, let's see. So the cumin is here. And the paprika's there. So cumin calls for about a tablespoon. I'm just kind of eyeballing this. Vera's back to normal. She's barking at everything. Okay. And about a tablespoon of paprika. Okay. Because we're going to have a fair amount of citrus that I need to juice up. Let's see. So that can go back. That can go there. Alrighty. Let's see. Let's bust that out. Half cup of olive oil. Again, just the regular olive oil, not extra virgin. And then we need some soy sauce. cilantro's grown on you. I don't like it too much as it's too strong. It dominates. It can be. Yeah, I can see that. If it's used, if too much of it is used, yes, it can definitely dominate. But when mixed in with everything in here, it's not that strong in my opinion. So, okay. Now we get to juice of the lemon. And then 3/4 cup of orange juice. So there's the lemon. All right. OJ time. Puppy. Probably just somebody walking their dog. Okay. These are blood oranges, by the way. They're off my my parents' tree, and I'm using them because, well, I got them. And then we can get to the chipotle. Now normally, if I were, you know, grilling up carne asada or something like that, I would use this recipe on like 3 pounds of meat. Oh, nice. That came out to 3/4 cup. Exactly what I needed. Sweet. All right. Hanging on to that because I got a whole bunch of limes that are going to need juicing anyways. Let's clean the board real quick. So now we're ready to blend. In this particular circumstance, I'm going to be using this as a sauce for the leftover steak. I'm going to have it in the pan before I actually add the steak because I kind of want to reduce it and cook it a little bit. The steak was perfectly medium rare. The last thing I want to do is have it get all tough. And so, literally, I only want it in the pan long enough for it to heat through. Puppies are running around back there. Okay, so I haven't added any chipotle. Canned chipotles are fantastic for this. Now, the recipe calls for three chipotles and 2 tablespoons of the adobo sauce that's in there. In my experience, that tends to be pretty spicy. If you like it that way, go for it. If not, feel free to omit it. In this case, I'm actually going to go with a little bit of chipotle powder. I'm probably do about a teaspoon. And that will add a little bit of warmth and some smokiness. But it won't completely overpower it. I'm pretty sure I've talked about this before. This is Chipotle Mako powder, which is made from chipotles that were made originally from jalapenos that were allowed to fully ripen before smoking. Most chipotles tend to be made from jalapenos that aren't fully ripe. Like green jalapenos aren't technically fully ripe. These are technically underripe. The fully ripe ones are going to be red. Yeah, the flavor is fantastic, but yeah, it definitely can be super overpowering and super spicy, and I don't necessarily want that. So I'm just gonna pulse this real quick to get it started, and then letting it run. Okay, so that is looking really quite nice. I'm gonna put it in this quart jar. And hopefully blade won't fall out. So, okay. That sauce is now done, and we'll set that off to the side. I'm going to go give this stuff a quick rinse, and then we'll be back for round 2. Puppy, you're fine. Alrighty. That's rinsed. That is cleaned up. Okay. Salsa number 2. Gonna make the avocado tomatillo salsa for those playing along at home. And that one actually is pretty dang simple, because again, it's just throw everything into the food processor and, you know, blitz it up a bit until it hits the desired consistency that you want. In this case, we want something that's going to be a little bit chunky still, so we're not going to just let it run. We're just going to kind of pulse it until we're happy. Now, what I have here is about, what did I get? About a pound? About a half pound or so of tomatillos that I've gone and husked and washed them under hot water to get the kind of the sticky residue off of it, because these are cousins of the gooseberry. And so I got those all cleaned up. So all I need to do is just rough chop them and get them into the food processor. Most of the times when we encounter tomatillos here, they're usually cooked into, you know, a green salsa or something like that, but they can actually be consumed raw like this. So all I'm doing is quartering them and then tossing them in. The one big one that I grabbed, because I was trying to grab relatively small ones, but the one kind of big one that I grabbed, I ended up cutting into 6 pieces, just kind of keep it the same. And then let's see. We're going to throw a serrano pepper into this because it's going to have a slightly different flavor than a jalapeno. And in theory, it's going to have more heat, although that's, like I said, it's not been my experience up here. Your mileage may vary depending on what part of the world you're in and the climate with which the chilies were grown. Alrighty, those are done. Let's see. Avocado, serrano, some garlic. Got my serrano there. I'm going to put 2 avocados in because they're ready and, well, we like avocado and it's my salsa and I'll do what I want. Let's see. Again, I'm going to take the seeds and ribs out. At least as best as I can. And all I'm doing is just detaching it from the side of the body and then kind of pushing it down and then running my knife down it in order to cut them out. This definitely has a nice fragrance to it. Different than a jalapeno. Jalapeno is very vegetal. This one, it does have a bit of a vegetal smell to it, but not... It's a different type of vegetable. This one actually smells like it has a bit of heat to it. It's not necessarily a bad thing. Yeah, dang near killed him. Real hydrated. Okay. Some garlic. A couple of cloves. I'm waiting to cut up the avocado until I'm ready with lime juice, just because avocado oxidizes pretty quickly, and I don't want it to be brown. I want it to stay nice bright green, so the acid just kind of helps prevent that. That's a big clove of garlic. Okay. Get some cilantro all up in there. So all I'm wanting to do is just trim the bottom of these off. So, yeah. And this is half a bunch. Rough chop, since food processor is going to be doing the bulk of the work. Okay. Now we are at lime juice stage. And at this point, I'm actually going to cut and juice more than what that recipe calls for, just because I'm going to be using lime juice in Pico De Gallo, and so it just makes sense to juice the limes now. Actually, I should put this one. Okay. That is ready to go. What are you going on about? You're fine. Hi, little girl. Are you actually going to walk all the way? Are you going to come? No. She's like, I'm only going halfway. That's as far as I'm going. Jane, however, he'll come all the way. Come on. Doggos get treats. Hey, Raptor Man, welcome, welcome. This may be a weird question, but what's the swappability of chili peppers? I'm not a fan of jalapenos, but love poblanos and a few other peppers. I don't know when it's okay to substitute. So for the most part, yes, there we go. Treats for doggos. Hey, that actually fired. When it comes to swapping out chilies, it really kind of depends on what your final target is. But I mean, like in the case of a Pico De Gallo or something like that, instead of a jalapeno, yeah, there's no reason why you couldn't swap it out with a poblano or like an Anaheim or something like that. Maybe something that doesn't have a heck of a lot of heat, but still has a really good flavor to it. Yeah, you can totally do that. The only real times where it's gonna be a bigger issue is if, yeah, Carolina Reapers. If you're making something that relies heavily on one specific type of chili and that kind of flavor profile. So like if you're making a Chipotle based something, and at that point, because it relies so heavily on that particular flavor profile, swapping it out for something else, I wouldn't really recommend. But it really depends on the case. It really depends on the case. But like I said, for like a Pico De Gallo or a fresh salsa or something like that, there's no reason why you couldn't swap out a poblano if you wanted to. That I don't see a reason why you couldn't. I mean, yeah, it's going to have a different flavor, but that's all right. Okay. The only problem with doing this is that your hands get a little wet, and then it's hard to hang on to them, and it's hard to twist them. I mean, they do have those like little handheld kind of citrus reamers that look a bit like a garlic press or something like that. Which I had one at one point, but I think it did exactly what I thought it was going to do, and it died while I was trying to juice like a lemon or something like that. Although to be fair, that particular one wasn't exactly really well built. So let's see. I've lost track of how many I've done. Was that like 3.5? Yeah, it looks like it was probably about 3.5 because I think I pulled 7 out. Okay, so that being the case, let's go ahead and pop these avocados. With these guys especially, because the skin is so thin on them, I find that using a butter knife is the best way to go when trying to kind of cut them up, because because it won't really go through, and of course I poke right through the skin right as I'm talking about that, so that's a classic one right there. But it doesn't go through anywhere near as often, as I don't have to be quite as careful. Trying to, cut these guys up just so that they're a little bit easier to scoop out. Okay. All that avocado goodness. And then after we pulse this and get it done, we'll juice the rest of the limes, since we're going to need them for the Pico De Gallo. excited about this one because I've never made this particular salsa before, but it sounded real good. I mean, I like everything that's going into it. So, yep. Okay. And hit it with a little bit of salt. Okay, pulse. Alright, that is, I think, pretty good looking consistency. Because it's still a little chunky. It's pretty good. It's really bright, meaning it's like it's on the acidic and kind of tart side, probably from the tomatillos as well as the limes. So I'm going to add just a bit more salt in order to kind of knock it down. Since it's already at a really great consistency, the last thing I want to do is pulse it up more. Okay, that did the trick. Because it's still a bit on the bright side, but the salt has kind of tamed it and taken it to a good balance of tart, and like you get a little bit of the cilantro, and I've got a bit of the serrano in my mouth, but it's not like, oh my gosh, it's gonna, you know, burn my mouth off. Hey, Mini Metal, what's going on, man? Okay, so let's remove that to a container. It's one of the many fine products carried at Spatula City. Okay. This would be quite good with some chips, which I'm thinking I'm going to have to fry some up. Because one of Mrs. Hueso's very favorite things is chips, cheese, beans, and rice. And so, well, I'm making rice, I'm making beans, and I'm going to have this, so it makes sense that I should probably make some chips. I got some tortillas, and I've got the fry oil out, and so I can knock out a few pretty quickly. Okay. That's looking good. We'll give that a rinse one more time. But first, alright, that salsa's done. It's probably water from when I rinsed this off the last time. Okay, let's get that rinsed. I know, buddy, you want to go outside. Next, finish juicing all the limes. Then we can get started on making that Pico De Gallo. And once that's done, we have a couple, well, let's see. Part of me is thinking, do the refried beans, and then we can have those chilling. And then we can take care of the asada and the mushroom asada and assemble all the things. So that's, I'm thinking, what the goal is. Visual and Fire one also playing. Sounds like Mini Metal, you're going to Dragon Force, I take it, very soon. That's what it's sounding like. I have to say, I really enjoyed watching the Visions of Atlantis set. Yeah, at least I quite enjoyed it. I got nothing against Seven Spires. Just for whatever reason, I'm just not terribly into the music. But they all seem like they're super cool people, and they're clearly very talented. Just for whatever reason, I don't know. I can't get into it, but that's okay. Dragon Force played an amazing set. Oh, that's a nice line. That one juiced up real good. Last one. Okay. Limes are all done. So we'll put that off to the side for the time being. Actually, I can get rid of that. Hopefully, dopely. Well, let's wipe off the board real quick. Alright, Pico De Gallo. Now, I've made Pico De Gallo before, and I've kind of talked a little bit about how I've never really kind of measured anything. I've always kind of eyeballed it. In this case, I'm probably going to use about a quarter of that bunch of cilantro, maybe a touch more. Yeah, I'm thinking I'll do that. But then I'm going to mix it up and put a little white and red onion in there. And I'm kind of thinking I'm going to put one of these super mild jalapenos in there, and a little bit of garlic. I got the lime juice, I got salt. That should be golden. So I'm gonna kind of smash and chop up that garlic clove first, get that in there, and that I will chop up a little bit finer, just because what I like to do, especially when I'm making it in the food processor like this, is I really like to put the cilantro in first, so then that way it processes down even finer. So when I go to throw like the tomatoes and onions and everything else in, that they'll remain kind of nice bigger pieces, but the cilantro, the garlic, and even the jalapeno, actually, I think, significantly smaller pieces. You know what? Let's go for the big one. Why? Because I'm pretty dang sure that this is going to be super mild. And I wasn't wrong. Kind of reminds me a little bit of a straight up green bell pepper. I mean, it is there. I get like no hint of spice out of it. Okay. Shuffle that. Okay. And in the food processor. Okay. That is pretty nicely chopped up, kind of the consistency that I want for the final pico, and with the addition of everything else, it'll be a nice consistency. So I have got, again, with the little mini tomatoes, what can I say? I love them. They're still readily available. They're still quite inexpensive. So that's what I get, these little mini San Marzanos. At least that's what I've been getting, just because they're available and they keep being available. In years past, these little guys, for whatever reason, like they'd only be around for a short time, but for whatever reason, they just keep coming and they keep coming. So I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna take advantage of them while they're available. So yeah, all I'm doing is cutting these into quarters, but I'm like going north-south pole and then across the equator, basically. No particular reason other than that's just how I do it. I mean, to be honest, like if I could just do 4 chops like that, I suppose. But this is 2 cuts versus that would have been 3. So it's just kind of economy of motion. So, alright, those go in. Alright, so we want a bit of white and a bit of red. And because I don't want to terribly overpower this, I'm thinking probably about a quarter of each. Maybe even a little bit less of the onions. I like to try and maintain 1-to-1, or maybe even a little bit more on the tomato side of things. Very nice. That, and it just using, I mean, honestly, you could use a yellow onion if that's all you got, or one type of onion, again, if that's all you got. If I can change it up and add a little bit of red, a little bit of white, it just kind of adds a little bit more variety to it. So I figure, why not? I mean, I'll use the onions regardless. So okay. So now, all right, so that's all in. A little bit of salt. Let's get a little bit of lime juice in there. Hey, baby. Alright. That is looking nice and chunky. But the cilantro is super small. It is looking pretty tasty. Mm.
So fresh.
I think a little more. It's good. A little bit more salt, and I think this is perfect.
What's up with the telly?
Telly didn't want to stay on.
Oh.
I don't know why.
Well, that's poopy.
Yeah, but I'll figure it out later. Like it was on initially, and then it decided to just freeze up and then turn off.
Weird.
Yeah. So I need to figure out, and then when I tried turning it like off and on again, because that's what you do.
Have you tried turning it off and on again?
Exactly. Because again, that's what you do. It didn't want to stay on. Like it kept turning off for some
Like
reason.
just a loose cable or something.
It could be. That could very well end up being what it was. I don't know exactly.
You want to bring your laptop over here and shut up, Bush?
Oh yeah, go for it. So now that my in-house mod is back, she can, yeah, because I mean, I've got a very tiny chat window, but that's about it. And now that I'm done with the food processor, and since my dishwasher is already empty, alright, a little bit more salt. And thankfully, since this stuff is effectively in a powder form, that's not, it's not like I added a heck of a lot of salt there. But that is a very nice looking pico. Okay, so that pico is done. That salsa is done. I need a garlic clove, maybe 2 for the beans. And got lime juice left over for that. Okay, I can put the onions away. And I think we are about ready to go on that. Nope, that was the wrong plug. I've also got my rice cooker plugged in because we had curry last night in preparation for Saturday as just kind of a test. And so I made rice to go with it because, well, you have to have rice. That unfortunately is a non-negotiable. So, gotta have the rice to go with the curry. Okay. Alright, I believe after these bits of garlic, let's see. Yep. Yeah, that is it. That is literally well, actually, no, that's not true. There is one last thing to do. So I'm going to do that now before I get it going. So I got my mushrooms here. I've already washed them off. This is about 8 ounces, about half a pound or 225 grams of button mushrooms. All I'm going to do for these is I'm just going to trim that stem kind of flush and then slice it up, and then the mushrooms are literally ready to go. Then it's just a question of sauteing them up, although I probably should have left like that white onion out just because I thought onions and mushrooms with that asada sauce and a taco I thought would be excellent. So that's okay. When you're making up this stuff on the fly, that's kind of what happens. like I talked about at the beginning, if you don't want to use buttons because you have an aversion to them or whatever, you can certainly use another dense mushroom is what I would highly recommend. Something like a king oyster, for instance.
You don't need the stem?
Oh no! If you notice, I left the stem is in there. I was just cutting them flush. The very end of the stem tends to be a lot more woody, and so the stem that's in there is going to be much softer than the edge of it. Solid question though. Which I think there should be. I don't know if it's popping up underneath the stream, but coaching I think is one of the tags now. Because okay, cool. Because I was going through kind of the tags and like, oh, okay, well, how can I, how should I tag this stream? And I'm like, well, there's got to be a master list because everything that I kept looking up was like not found or anything like that. So I was going through this master list and coaching was one of the things that was on there. And I was just like, well, yeah, after reading their description, that's kind of exactly what I'm trying to do with this, is I'm trying to help and coach people to be better, to think better, and help them improve, eat better, because this is, how people can pick up and put down heavy things. So, so far so good, Carrie Gemini. I hope yours is going pretty good. I'm just working on tacos and slicing up some mushrooms for a mushroom asada as a vegan option for folks. For those that need gluten-free, the only change that you would need to make to that carne asada sauce was instead of normal soy sauce, which traditionally has wheat in it, just get yourself a tamari or a soy sauce. If you look on the ingredient list, it just lists 100% soybeans and there's no wheat. Either one of those will do the trick for you. All right, so garlic cloves. That is ready to go. I'm gonna go get a little thingy for it. I keep thinking, oh yeah, I'm totally done. No, not quite. Not quite done yet. Because on the tacos, we're gonna have some shredded cabbage. This is that lovely head that I picked up, I think it was last week. I'm just going to take off that one outer leaf. It's a nice dense head of cabbage. And I want some very thin slices for that. And for that, I'm going to get out my very big Ben Renner mandolin.
How come too much ginger or garlic is tasting
So the active, kind of the big active ingredients in garlic. So the perceived heat of garlic comes down to not only the content of, I forget what the chemical compound is. I want to call it like. Thought it started with an AL, but anyways, we'll just call it the garlic heat. The garlic heat, the perceived amount of it is dependent upon the size of the piece of garlic. So your grated garlic is going to appear to be much hotter than larger chunks of garlic because more cell walls have been broken and have released that particular compound. It's the same thing with ginger. The bigger pieces aren't going to have that perceived kind of heat, whereas the grated stuff is going to have a larger, it's going to be much more perceptible. So, Acilicin?
Yeah, per pickle.
Allison.
Allison.
Allison. I know. Alan. All right. So, I've got this currently adjusted to very, very thin. If you look, you can see that there's barely any space in between because I want very, very thin slices of cabbage. So let's see. It's on, I've got 4 inches of cabbage in between me and the blades. There. Is that better? Ginger roll? Ginger roll? Alright, so that's some pretty thinly sliced cabbage there, which I think will be very nice. There we go. A little bit more. Because let's be honest, I don't want one taco, I want all the tacos. And then for bowls, romaine lettuce. So it'll be kind of like a taco salad, but not quite a taco salad. Which, speaking of taco salad, for those that want to be able to go back and watch previous streams,
You're just saying sounds.
I've
There's sounds.
unfortunately been kind of slacking a little bit on getting the videos uploaded to YouTube. I spent basically the entirety of yesterday uploading just about all of the previous streams, and so they've all been labeled with the date and what was being made that day, and then in the description it talks a bit more about it. So if you want to go back and re-watch those, you now can on YouTube. If you hit the socials command, it'll throw up a link to the YouTube page. There also should be a link to the YouTube page on the Twitch page itself. Socials. Now that we got that romaine, we'll just slice that up also somewhat finely. Well, I'm not using Streamlabs, so it shouldn't be an issue. I'm using StreamerBot.
Well, I'm exclamation point socials.
Really? And no, it should just be exclamation point socials.
That's what I said.
You just said I exclamation point.
Oh, there it is.
There we go. Okay. Lettuces and cabbages are done. We can get these out of here. Bring this back, but the last thing I need to do these beautiful pieces of picanha. They're now going to be turned into beautiful pieces of asada for tacos. Now these are somewhat thick, and you can see the grain running down that way, which is why I'm going to slice it this way. But I'm also thinking I'm going to slice it in half so the pieces aren't quite as gargantuan in the taco. There we go. Yeah, it's got a relatively big fat cap, so I'll trim some of that off, but you can see how nice and medium rare that still is. This end doesn't have as much of a fat cap on it, so not worried about that. But I want to retain some of that fat at least, so then that way it renders out. She is very gentle. Jane, on the other hand, is just like, dun-dun, dun-dun. He's just like, food. A little bit like a sarlacc pit. These will be really nice pieces of asada. I'm sure somewhere somebody's just like, no, you're committing heresy. Like, well, if you want to buy the steaks, I'll make them however you want me to. Okay, meat be done. All right. There. Excuse me. Thank you.
Avocado Green said, I asked what are we having for their next?
Uh-huh.
And she said, pork chops.
Pork chops? Isn't that redundant?
And then the soldiers were like, I know some cops are Portland, but
Yeah. I'm like, pork chops, that's kind of redundant. Okay. I'm gonna get a little bit of water. I just want to have that on hand because now we make beans. Come on. There we go. All right, I just have a can, 15 and a half or 16, depending on where you are. Pinto beans is what I'm using. You can use black beans, kind of whatever you want. This is, it's a recipe that I found online that I'm like, hey, this is actually super cool. Because refried beans are good. Making them this way is even better because it's way quicker. So I'm just going with a little bit of, about a tablespoon of oil. I'm using, again, just a straight olive oil, not extra virgin. I'm gonna let that heat up a little bit before adding the garlic back in. The other seasonings that this calls for is a little bit of cumin and a little bit of chili powder. But other than...
Raptor Man's gotta hit the road.
Alright, you heading home, Raptor Man? Alright, man, have yourself a good one. Alright, garlic in. I'm going to turn this down because I want the garlic to get kind of soft. I don't want it to necessarily super fry. So what we're going to do is we're going to saute up this garlic a little bit so it kind of softens up. And then we're going to add in the can of beans with the juices. Kind of let that cook a little bit. We'll add a bit of salt, a half teaspoon of chili powder, and about a half teaspoon of cumin. Mash up the beans and kind of stir them up to get kind of a consistency that we want. And I got the additional water just so then that way if they're way too thick, we can thin them out to a consistency that we're happy with. Alright, so there's that Asada stuff. We can get that out of the way. I can move that too. I'm thinking in the meantime I should probably get the tortillas heating up. For that, all I'm doing, so I got a bit of foil here, and I'm gonna probably drop about a dozen or so tortillas in here. Wrap them up, stick them in a 250-degree oven for about 15 minutes. Okay, so this is the super easy way to do them on the Soldier Giants. All right, let's set this for 15 minutes. Okay, so we got a little bit of brown on there, but they should have softened up a bit by now. So now I can crank the heat. Add that can of beans. And just hit them with a little bit of salt initially. And it's funny because it's like standing here watching myself do that. I've had to kind of readjust how I salt stuff because that salt, that kombu salt that I've been using is so much finer that I've had to kind of readjust my understanding of what it takes to properly season it. So this is just my chili, saltless chili powder blend. About a half teaspoon in there. And about a half teaspoon of cumin. Yeah. Okay. So now I just got my potato masher out. I'm giving them a bit of a mash. And how much you mash them is entirely up to you. If you want them super smooth, then go to town. You can certainly do it with a food mill, and that would give you a really, really smooth consistency. If you prefer it a little bit on the chunkier side, kind of like this, you can leave it that way too. Okay, so now, see how as I'm like drawing this across, how there's not a ton of liquid in there? Alright, so I'm going to add a little bit more just to kind of thin it out just a touch. And again, this really depends entirely on how much liquid is in there after you go to mash. And then after you mash them, it's going to thicken up some more. Just because now you've, you know, by mashing them up, there's so many more proteins that'll help kind of thicken this up. You can see how much runnier it is, but I think that's weird. I'm like, oh, it's probably because the water was cold. And I'm like, is it just stopped? Is the gas running out? It's just waiting to come back up to a boil, and then it'll thicken up pretty quick. Yes. I don't think so. Because if I remember correctly, at the time when I made those videos, I was still using a chili powder blend under the assumption that there was no salt added until later when I realized that that was not the case. And so I set about to try to make my own chili powder blend. And I have one. I'll need to post that. Okay. Alright, so that's kind of thickened back up a bit, and it's still pretty thin, but I actually prefer it on the slightly thinner side anyways, because then it mixes into the rice really nicely. Okay. So now, I'm going to go put this over on the stove on a low heat just to keep it warm. Excuse me, Jane. And at this point, the rice should be good to go. Oh man, that is smelling so good. Look at that. Yeah, that's looking fantastic. Excellent. Okay. So this can go back over to the stove. This is good to go. Okay. Time to make the mushrooms. Alright, I'm going to hang off on the lime juice on those beans until we're ready to go. I'll taste them right beforehand and then we'll do the final seasoning on that. Okay. High heat. A little bit of the olive oil. What's up? Needed to make sure to get that masher into the water so then that way it doesn't become impossible to clean. Okay. So these I want to saute down a little bit so they soften up before adding that Carne Asada marinade / sauce. I'm going to hit it with a little bit of salt right now. There are those that would say don't salt the mushrooms in the beginning because then suddenly they'll turn all soggy. And I'm like, well, I kind of want the moisture that's inside the mushrooms to come out, so then that way we can get to a really nice kind of a soft but meaty consistency. I get the distinct feeling I'm going to need to change this canister soon. Oh yeah, that guy's almost empty. There we go. Gotta love it. My friend makes them from scratch, lard and all. Yeah, exactly. It honestly, like, refried greens from scratch with the lard and everything are so dang good. They're not good for you, but they're really good. They're sometimes kind of a thing. These are doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're smelling good. Well, Flip-O-Vision. The only problem is doing that, they're off the heat. Yeah, these are looking and smelling real good. I wouldn't worry about what looks kind of, at least under this light, it's looking like a slight reddish discoloration. That's just oxidation from the mushrooms. They're fine. Alright, scoop these guys off to the side and let some of that liquid run out and evaporate. That's okay, it's all part of the process. Yeah, lard really does add quite a bit of flavor. You know what's funny is in looking through, I have a couple of cookbooks that deal with like tacos and things like that. And one of the recipes that I came across made me go, oh, no, that's interesting. And it was for a brisket taco, but the way the brisket was treated was that they made a brisket confit with it in beef fat. So they took the brisket, you know, cut it up into kind of like 2x2 cubes, and then slowly cooked it in beef fat for like 8 hours. until it was super fall apart. And it just sounded amazing, and I'm like, I want to put that in my mouth. Okay. I just wanted these sauteed a little bit. I didn't want them necessarily fully broken down and caramelized because I still wanted some texture to them. So I'm going to go ahead and add a bit of the sauce to this.
Groovy.
There we go. It is looking and smelling fantastic. Just gonna let this cook down a little bit more until it's not quite as liquidy and it's more of a glaze. Ash approves. Nice. I think these are just about done. Yeah, those are looking fantastic. Okay, mushroom asada done. No need to wipe that out since all I'm doing is adding a bit of that sauce back in. I don't know, that's maybe quarter cup, maybe a little more. And we'll get that to kind of cook down a little bit before we add that beef back in. Because all I want to do with that picanha, oh, tortillas should be ready. Yeah. I'm just going to leave those in the foil for the time being. Picanha is perfectly done. I don't want to cook it at all, so it's literally going to be in here long enough to warm through, and then it's done. And then at that point we are ready to start assembling some tacos. Let me crack this open real quick, just kind of. Tortillas can use a few more minutes. While that is happening, I just turned on the oil on the stove. So then that way I can fry up some chips. Okay, yep, we're almost done on this. Okay. I'm going to stop this a little before I want to, just because of carryover. Okay, that is good. You know what? Too many things in my hands. There we go. That can go there. Serving spoon for the beans. Bring the rice over. Just need a serving spoon for that. And then let's grab a couple of these tortillas real quick. 4 of these guys. I'm just going to cut these rounds into 6 pieces each. I've already got a draining thing set up over by the stove for the paper towels and everything. So when this is ready to go and I can drop these in, we can just fry those up real quick and have some chips to go with the beans and go with everything else. Tortillas should be ready momentarily. Let's take the oils to temp real
Silver Giants. I've made tortilla chips, and they were hella greasy. How do you avoid that?
So, the big thing to keep in mind when it comes to frying anything is once it comes out of the oil, just letting it drain, getting it. So if it's all it's doing is sitting directly on like a paper towel or something like that, it's going to remain in that constant contact, and so it's just going to retain that oil. The other thing is if the oil is too cold, what will happen is the oil will actually kind of soak into whatever it is that you're frying up. Think of it like this, that the idea in a perfect world, what you're trying to do is maintain a balance between the temperature of the oil instantly causing moisture to boil and the pressure of that steam pushing out. It should be greater than the force of the oil trying to get in. If it is too low, the oil's going to push in, but if it's too much, then it just instantly like fries and explodes and burns, and it's no bueno. So there tends to be this a really fine line. Most of the time it's right around 350 Fahrenheit, but it also depends because some batters prefer a frying at a lower temp. That's just kind of the way that they work out.
What temp are you frying the chips at?
I'm aiming for 350.
Big guy.
Hi, Jane.
The lighting's really dark.
Yeah. Well, it's because there's not really a ton of light, really. because their eyes are way more sensitive than cameras. Okay. Yeah, these are starting to brown up.
I'll have to get a thermometer and a drying rack. Thank you.
Yeah. To be honest, like just a Jane. Come on, buddy. Come on. Something like. Hold up. Sorry. You're fine, little girl. Kind of a cooling rack like this. Now this one I don't use for cooling stuff. This is one that I like throw onto the stovetop. Like if I'm trying to roast chilies or something like that. But something like this, so it sits above paper towels would be perfect.
It's gotta rise above.
That's right, it's gotta rise above.
Mushrooms are good.
Nice. Yeah, and it's a vegan option.
Vegans are cool too. I came over here because I think the lighting's better for you for him.
Yeah. Okay.
Jay loves his cheese.
Yes, he does.
We always have cheese.
It's true.
And I promise, which is true though, like, I promise Lumpy Pickle, when he comes, we'll have at least 5 different cheeses.
Oh, yeah.
We
I will-
probably have that now.
Pretty close, but nothing that I would necessarily put together in a full cheese board. No, when Lumpy Pickle finally does come to visit, I will absolutely put together a proper cheese board. Okay, we have cheeps.
Cheeps.
These are probably a bit darker than they should be, but I'll still eat them. Cheeps.
Some people at work say cheese is really bad for dogs.
Well,
But,
that's nice.
hey, be gentle. He's got a big mouth.
He does. Alright, we got tortillas. These should be nice and hot now. Yep, nice and hot. Okay, we are ready to assemble tacos. Woo! You gonna come assemble a taco or two?
There's no space. Yes, yes I am.
You should. And we'll make a bowl too. It'll be fun.
A taco bowl?
Yeah. Do me, Jane. There's that. There's that. Okay.
I'm gonna go mushroom style.
Alright. Oh, hang on. Let me get rid of that. Because we got 2 salsas over there that we gotta tuck
The
into.
salsas. I got the cheese out for Jay. I was hoping, I wanted to show Lumpy Pickle, like, Jay could be passed out at the other end of the house. You get the cheese out, Jay will come running.
Yeah.
He smells it from so far.
That's part of Jane's superpower.
He can smell cheese.
Oh yeah, he knows. Alright, so there's the pico. And then this is a tomatillo avocado salsa.
I saw the menu.
Oh, you did? Okay, good. So, okay. Taco assembly. Tortilla. And I'm gonna grab a bit of asada first. Hang on. Okay, good, we're on that shot. Let me... let's put that one back on. Alright. Bit of that papaya. A bit of
Cabbage.
the cabbage.
I didn't even grab a plate.
That's okay.
Heathen.
Heathen. And a bit of that avocado tomatillo salsa. Boom. Taco numero uno. L'chaim.
It is 11 out of 10.
That is the stuff. Shoving it right into my mouth. Super good. Yeah, the chipotle powder that I put in there, I mean, you get a little bit of the smokiness and a touch of warmth, but not enough to where it's like, oh my gosh, it's burning my mouth. That is some fantastic asada. Chips and bean.
Usually, recooking meat like toughens it up, but
Yeah.
you didn't do that.
No, that's just it. Is because the steak was perfect. It's like I was telling everybody, I only wanted to just reheat it. I did not want to. So like some of these pieces, I don't know if it really comes through. You can still see that pinkness in there,
Those beans are excellent.
right? You should try the rice.
I'm gonna try it with this chip. I contaminated it. Oh my gosh.
You made a mess. All right. Taco time with the mushrooms.
I think this is the best beans you've made so far.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like that they're relatively healthy.
Ish.
But you didn't add as tons of fat like at the markets.
No, just a little bit of olive oil. Mushroom taco. Let's go in. That's really good. Those mushrooms have a really nice kind of a meaty texture.
They do.
Those are fantastic. I would gladly eat that if it were served to me.
It's like you know what you're doing.
It's almost as if I know what I'm doing. Okay. Oh, hey. Thanks, Lumpy. Okay. Bowl assembly time. So, for the bowl, I'm gonna hit it with some of the rice. Man, that is super fragrant. Some of the beans. Okay. I'm gonna hit it with some of the beef. And I'm also gonna grab some of the mushrooms because, like I said, they're really good. Then let's hit it with a bit of the pico. And by a bit, I mean, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this translates to nachos super easy. Because lay down your chips, a little bit of beans, rice if you want. Hit it with the meat, and then cheese when it comes out, a bit of pico. You're golden. Oh. I will. The only reason why I was like, oh, is because I wanted to get some of that romaine lettuce in there. And then now, give me, buddy. Now I can just mix it up if I want. And I want. I can come in with my chips. Mmm. Man, that's tasty. Seriously, with like these chips? Oh man. Thankfully, I have more tortillas and I can make more chips if I want. Mmm. Mmm. That is tasty, tasty, tasty. Hey, Windier, how's it going, man? There's a mushroom. There's a piece of the meat. A little bit of everything on there. Mmm. My roommate got these unbreakable dishes and bowls. They're nuts. Windier, I was joking, and I need to make a disclaimer that goes up in front of the stream that says that there's a parental advisory that one should have either eaten first or have a snack or, you know, whatever ahead of time, because it could cause people to want to lick the screen or jump through it or just start ordering takeaway. Mm. I am very happy with this. This is a fantastic dinner. And to be honest, overall, it's not exactly high calorie. Because for the most part, I mean, it's what fats were used were straight olive oil, but even then it wasn't like a whole lot was used throughout anything. I mean, you got a beef protein, you got beans for some protein. Other than the beef, this could in theory be a vegan meal, and with one or two minor substitutions, it could be gluten-free too. So I mean, it's a versatile menu, and very easy substitutions can be made. And yeah, so honestly, like, go for it. Make this stuff, man. It is super delicious, and I adore it. Oh, on the Soldier of Giants is offering to do the dishes. I will take you up on that.
Where is he?
I do not know. Awesome. Because I hate doing dishes. Especially after cooking. So I kind of feel like now we've gotten to kind of the Q&A portion. I mean, even though people can like ask questions whenever. But now, especially since Mrs. Hueso is manning the laptop. Yeah, so feel free to like, you know, ask me anything. Oh, Texas, very nice.
Like, Texas is pretty big.
Yeah.
The southern part, maybe the top part, middle.
Hmm. Into the recycling bin. Oh. Okay. Excellent. Yeah.
The food is so mesmerizing.
I know, right? Yes. Absolutely. San Antonio will know Mexican food.
With some tofu, a good vegetarian Asada protein.
In this particular circumstance, I'm going to say no. And it's not because, like, ooh, tofu. It's because firm tofu still, if you try to saute it up like this, it's going to break up. So, I mean, it would turn into kind of a crumbles sort of thing, almost like a ground meat. Which you can certainly do, although I would be more inclined, if wanting to do tofu, like pressing it, and then, if possible, deep frying it, like an avocado oil or something like that, and then having that fried tofu, and then doing this with it. Or though, if you have access to, I don't want to say an Asian market because that's not totally correct. Like a Vietnamese market, possibly a Chinese, that will sell fried tofu, then that way you don't have to deal with it. You can actually just go buy it and then like heat it up, like if you got an air fryer or just a ripping hot oven, you can reheat it that way and then kind of toss it with the sauce. You might need to cut up the fried tofu a bit because usually the squares tend to be on the bigger side. But you could totally do that. I was just thinking the tortillas, I think it'd be better like done on the stovetop, in my opinion. Like heating them up in the oven, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that works, but I would just do them right on the burner, personally. Yeah, fried tofu actually is good.
That's what you made for Brittany.
Sort of. I did a baked tofu.
But
I didn't quite do a fried tofu.
Fried pieces in it?
Mm-mm.
Oh,
No.
slacker.
No, the fried tofu was when I did that catering job for the accounting firm.
Oh.
And they needed a like a vegetarian or vegan option or whatever.
Yeah.
This was way back. I did a catering gig for an accounting firm. They were in tax season, and they were bringing food in. And I ended up doing a couple of meals for them, but one of them was they wanted like Chinese food, and so I did kind of like a what was it, like a General Tso's chicken or like an orange chicken or something like that. So I like had 2 fryers going where I was frying up chicken, but I was and another one I did the tofu and tossed it with the sauce and everything. I made sure there wasn't any cross-contamination between the tofu and the chicken, so those that were choosing to abstain from meat, that was respected and everything. But that worked really nicely doing it that way. Yeah, orange chicken when orange chicken when done right is very good. So yeah, well, if that's... Yep. Well, yeah, just add it to the Discord. Put it on the list. So, well, if that's, I think this is a pretty good stopping point. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Hopefully I'll figure out what's going on with this TV before Thursday. Because not having it sucks. I've gotten so used to having it here that it not working is disagreeable. So, at any rate, take care, everybody. Have a wonderful evening. I will catch some of y'all on, I don't know, another chat, another stream, something or other. Take care. Have a good night. I can't see if anybody is on and doing anything, so I have no idea. You know what? Hang on. Let's see. Oh my gosh, the TV's been on the whole time. What the heck?
What?
I just opened up the browser screen and it automatically opened on the TV. So apparently the TV's been open. So what we're looking at is user error, apparently. So, oh boy.
That's okay. Hey, at least it's not broken. Woo!
Yeah, it's not broken.
Let's look at the positives.
Let's look at the positives. That's all right. It's like it's thinking.
Steak is fantastic.
Isn't it? Oh, it's so nice having this back, and I'm seeing my bit rates looking good. To be honest, Lumpy Pickle, like, I had the wallpaper on here that you set, but for whatever reason, it's like,
It's a great photo, by the way.
yeah, no, it's a fantastic photo. I don't know where you found it, but it's phenomenal.
He took it himself.
Come on. Browsers decide. I love it. It opens up and then it's just like, nah, I'm good. I loaded once. I don't want to load again. Okay, let's see.
That's the meat.
Let's see if this bothers to load now. It's thinking. It's thinking. It's still thinking. I would imagine that the only reason why it's doing that is because since I'm like running it like 6,000 up, that it's just like, oh, trying to like up and down for everything. Well, I see Herman's on. It's probably the pre-show. Come on. I see Pio is on. We could raid Pio. That would be kind of funny, especially since I'm using, I use picanha for the carne asada. No, Pio's in Brazil. Tiny P.O. So, yeah, I'm kind of thinking let's go raid P.O. just because it'll be funny, and he'll probably like, and it's funny. That's really my reason for doing everything, is just because it's funny. Okay, let's see if I can get this to... Alright. Let's get the raid message in there. If it decides to recognize the typing. It's doing a lot. It's thinking. You know what's funny, Lumpy Pickle, is this is a Vizio, and our main TV is a Vizio that we've had for a long time. My brother scored it for us when he was working at Vizio. Oh, even that's just like lagging. Oh yeah, the power supply. Yeah, that's what happened on our main TV when it finally died. Thank you, Carrie Gemini. Yeah, they are delicious. You have a wonderful night yourself. It's throwing up? Okay, I see that, but okay. It looks like it did throw up the raid message. It's just... It's probably just like, no, I'm trying to do too much. Oh yeah, because even that's just like lagging like crazy. So let's shut that guy. All right. Anyways, well, that being the case, I'm just gonna go ahead and end it as opposed to trying to raid, just because it's lagging so hard. So thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Have yourself a wonderful night. I'm reachable if you ever have any questions about anything, and love you guys. Thank you so much. And we will see you around.
Hello, boys and ghouls. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. Making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. Making a snack today. What's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? DK's making a snack today. Shove it right into your mouth. DK's making a snack today. What's it gonna be? Is he making it for me? DK's making a snack today. It's time for tactical snacking with DK. Making a snack today. What's it gonna be?